The message that shattered the galactic networks was only 3 sentences long, effective immediately. Earth withdraws from the Galactic Council. All treaties, trade agreements, and joint defense pacts are null and void. Do not approach Sol. The word spread like wildfire, transmitted across thousands of systems within minutes, each translation carrying the same cold finality. The humans were leaving. For centuries, Earth had been the unpredictable, volatile, yet indispensable member of the Council. They had been the innovators, the risk-takers, the warriors no one wanted to fight but everyone wanted on their side. They had ended wars, rebuilt planets, and stabilized economies. Now, they were gone, and the void they left behind was already beginning to consume the galaxy. In the council chamber of Verelion Prime, chaos erupted. Ambassadors shouted over one another, demanding answers from the human envoy. But the envoy's seat was empty, cleaned out, abandoned, and sealed. No explanation. No farewell. Just absence. For a species known to be loud, bold, and defiant, their silence was more terrifying than any declaration of war. The first panic struck the trade worlds. Without Earth's hyperlane engineering guilds, thousands of trade routes began to collapse. Humans had designed half the galaxy's transport network, and they alone knew the deeper mechanics of the quantum relays. Within a week, fleets were stranded in dark space, and supplies began to dwindle. Then came the second blow, defense. Earth's fleets had been the backbone of interstellar peace. Their warships, built from alloys no other species could replicate, patrolled borders and deterred pirate factions. When those ships vanished from joint command stations, pirate empires emerged from hiding, testing the galaxy's weakened resolve. The Council called for an emergency summit, hoping to re-establish contact. Every channel to Sol was dead. Even the deep space relays that linked through the Ort Gate had gone offline. The entire solar system shimmered behind an energy veil, one of human design, and one that no one could pierce. It was as though the species had folded their corner of the universe out of reach. Rumors began to spiral. Some claimed Earth had built a new government beyond the galactic rim, human dominion, preparing for conquest. Others said they had simply grown tired of galactic politics and turned inward, focusing on their next great leap. But the darker whispers suggested something else, that humans had seen something coming, something so catastrophic they had decided to cut themselves off before it arrived. The panic reached its peak when the energy readings from Sol changed. The system pulsed, once, sending out a gravitational shockwave that rippled across nearby sectors. Probes sent to investigate vanished without a trace. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy felt blind. The Zyran High Chancellor addressed the Council, trembling. "They warned us," he said. "Years ago, when we sanctioned the mining of Mars. They said, 'You are touching a graveyard of giants.' We didn't listen." His words went unanswered. No one dared to speak the name, human, aloud now. It had become synonymous with consequence. Meanwhile, reports began to surface of human colonies beyond Sol cutting communication as well. The Martian Confederation, lunar corporates, and the Europa technocracy, all dark. Even colonies on the edges of Council space, where mixed populations lived, suddenly evacuated overnight. Their human citizens left with no trace, often taking entire shipyards and data cores with them. Then, one night, across the galactic data webs, a strange signal appeared. It was human music, an old Earth symphony, Beethoven's Ode to Joy. It played for exactly 7 minutes, then ended with a single message: "Do not follow us." The galaxy froze. The Council issued a mandate forbidding any approach to Sol or former human colonies, but fringe powers ignored it. The first expeditionary fleet to enter the system of Tau Ceti never returned. Their last transmission described a curtain of light and voices within the static. Weeks turned to months, and the galactic economy began to fracture. Worlds that had depended on human medical technology and AI maintenance began to regress. Systems once thriving under human innovation fell into decay. Without Earth's stabilizing hand, old rivalries reignited, and ancient grudges resurfaced. The Galactic Council was unraveling. Some believed this was humanity's revenge, retribution for centuries of being treated as the Council's soldiers and engineers, never equals. Others thought they were evolving beyond physical space, ascending into something greater. Whatever the truth, fear was universal. On the edge of the galaxy, a single human transmission was intercepted by a deep space observatory. It contained a fragment of speech, calm, resolute, unmistakably human. The galaxy must learn to stand on its own. We carried you through war, through famine, through darkness. Now, you must survive without us. The Council interpreted it as arrogance. But a few recognized it as something else, grief. Humanity had not left out of hatred. They had left because they no longer trusted the galaxy to handle what was coming. Then, the stars near Sol began to dim. A pattern of energy signatures spread outward in perfect symmetry, forming what scientists could only describe as a containment field, on a galactic scale. It wasn't meant to keep the humans in. It was meant to keep something else out. In their absence, the galaxy realized the terrifying truth: humanity's withdrawal wasn't an act of abandonment, it was a warning. And by the time the Council understood what they were protecting everyone from, it was already too late. The cosmos had learned to fear humanity's rage. Now, it would learn to fear their silence. The containment field around Sol was first detected as a distortion in background radiation, so faint that only the observatories on the rim worlds noticed. Within days, it intensified into a vast, translucent lattice of energy stretching across light years, a shimmering sphere centered on humanity's birthplace. Scientists across the galaxy scrambled to explain it, but the equations didn't add up. Whatever it wasn't a defense system. It was a seal. The Council immediately dispatched probe fleets, each equipped with the most advanced shielding technology available. Not one returned. Their black boxes, recovered months later, contained corrupted data and fragments of human voices whispering, "Not yet." Some thought it was interference. Others thought the humans themselves were speaking through the void. Meanwhile, deep within the archives of the Galactic Council, a secret meeting was convened. The surviving members of the old Human Affairs Committee, a task force once responsible for monitoring Earth, were called back. Among them was Varin Kell, a Xylothian who had served as liaison to humanity for over 80 years. He was old now, his once smooth carapace cracked with time, but his memory was sharp. "They knew," he said quietly to the assembled delegates. "When they warned us about the Mars vaults, when they cut off the relay networks, they knew this was coming." "Coming?" asked the Drathian representative, his frilled crest trembling. "What could possibly drive humans to abandon the galaxy? They are too arrogant to run." Varin looked out the viewport toward the faint, flickering glow that marked Sol's position. "It wasn't fear that drove them," he said. "It was responsibility." The word sent unease through the chamber. Responsibility. That was the one trait every species associated with humans, sometimes admired, sometimes despised. They always took on burdens others refused to carry, whether it was war, peacekeeping, or rebuilding civilizations. But what burden could be so great that it required sealing themselves off from the entire galaxy? On the frontier world of Karth Prime, miners uncovered something ancient. Deep within the crust lay a structure of unknown origin, inscribed with human script, modern, not alien. The message engraved upon it read, "Do not awaken what sleeps below. This world is contaminated." The Council dispatched a research team. Within 72 hours, Karth Prime went silent. The last transmission was a scream, followed by static and a single word whispered by a human AI still active in the relay network: containment. Whispers spread. Some said humans had unleashed a weapon long ago, something they had buried under alien soil during the expansion wars. Others believed they had discovered an ancient, pre-human terror that had once consumed entire galaxies. Then the unthinkable happened. On the edge of the Orion Spur, a small research station picked up a signal identical to the human distress code, but older. Much older. The data timestamp suggested it was over 200,000 years old, predating humanity itself. The signal carried coordinates. Not to Earth, but to a region just beyond the galactic rim. The Council voted to send an expedition. Despite Varian's protests, the fleet departed. When they arrived, they found nothing, no stars, no light, only darkness. Then, one by one, their ships began to vanish from sensors. The surviving vessels reported seeing colossal shadows moving in the void, shapes too vast to comprehend. And then a transmission came through on an open channel, human voice again, ancient and distorted. "We warned you. The veil was not for you." The fleet fled, half mad, their navigators rambling about eyes in the dark and songs older than creation. Of the 60 vessels that entered that void, only 9 returned. The rest were gone, their quantum drives torn apart as though something had reached into space itself. Now the Council was terrified. Not of humanity, but of whatever humanity had found. Worlds began to prepare for war, not against each other, but against the unknown. Fleets mobilized, and the Council demanded to reopen contact with Earth. But no signal could pass through the barrier. It reflected everything back with an almost sentient precision, as if the wall itself was alive. Varinkel made one final attempt. Using a human-built deep quantum communicator, he sent a simple message: "We need you. The darkness is coming." The reply came 6 hours later, short, cold, final. "We know. That's why we left." The message ignited outrage. Entire sectors accused humanity of cowardice. Propaganda spread, Earth abandoned us. But the older species, the ones who had seen the humans fight and bleed for the galaxy, knew better. If the humans had sealed themselves away, it wasn't to hide, it was to buy time. Decades passed. The containment sphere held strong. But on its outer edge, strange gravitational distortions began to appear, eddies of energy that twisted light and space. Explorers called them the wounds. Within each, reality seemed to warp, and whispers echoed, alien yet familiar. The galaxy entered a new age of fear. Trade collapsed, colonies fell, and faith in the Council dissolved. Yet, amid the chaos, a fragment of humanity remained: hybrids, exiles, an offspring of mixed worlds. They began to organize under a single banner, the Children of Sol. They claimed that the humans had left behind a hidden message encoded in the star maps, a prophecy of sorts. It spoke of a time when the stars would fade, and the last human voice would call across the void to summon the Sol Vanguard. No one believed them, until one night, all galactic sensors registered a sound. It wasn't a signal, not data, but a heartbeat. Rhythmic. Massive. Echoing through subspace. Every AI, every relay, every listening post recorded it. And behind that beat, a voice: "It has awakened." Panic consumed the galaxy. Fleets scattered, governments collapsed, and the Council's grand chamber went silent forever. For the first time in known history, the stars themselves seemed afraid. Then the barrier around Sol flared with impossible light. Energy readings off the charts. It expanded outward, washing over nearby systems, stabilizing the collapsing spacetime around the wounds. For a brief, breathtaking moment, the galaxy saw what humanity had become. Billions watched as massive constructs emerged from within the Sol field, black, angular titans wreathed in plasma fire, their hulls inscribed with the symbol of the old Terran Union. They weren't warships. They were anchors. Machines built to hold the galaxy together. Across every channel, one final broadcast echoed: "We held the darkness for as long as we could. Now, it wakes. If you wish to live, run." Then came the silence. The constructs aligned themselves in a vast ring across the galactic plane, and space rippled. From the void beyond the rim, something vast stirred. A sound, not of matter, but of thought, rumbled through every mind. The ancient hunger had returned. The last thing the galaxy saw of humanity was the light of Sol burning brighter than 1,000 suns. The barrier collapsed inward, forming a singular beam that pierced the void and struck the approaching darkness. For a moment, the entire cosmos stood still. Then, the light was gone. When the silence ended, the darkness was too. The void retreated. The stars shone again. But Sol was no longer there. Only empty space, and the faint echo of human music carried across the void. Oh, to joy! Once more, the galaxy would never see them again, but every civilization, from the smallest moon colony to the mightiest empire, remembered the same truth: humanity had not fled. They had sacrificed everything to seal the nightmare that no one else could face, and in the quiet centuries that followed, when children looked up at the night sky and wondered why one constellation no longer shone, their elders whispered the same story: those were the humans. They didn't abandon the galaxy. They saved it.